I never thought I'd be the kind of man who ends up quietly tracking his wife's car through a city we've both lived in for more than a decade. If you asked anyone who knows me, they'd tell you I'm calm, measured, maybe even slow to react sometimes. I don't jump to conclusions, I don't throw accusations, and I don't raise my voice. But that's probably why this whole thing played out the way it did. Quietly, almost gently, like a book I didn't want to keep reading, but couldn't put down either. It all started on an ordinary Thursday evening, the kind of day you forget as soon as it ends, unless something comes along and brands it into your memory forever. That night, my phone buzzed with an alert from the car tracking app we both used. We installed it years ago when she first got her new car, more for convenience than anything else. Finding the car in big mall parking lots, tracking mileage for insurance, stuff like that. The alert said her car was parked downtown near a business complex. Not her work, not our home, not anywhere she normally went in the evenings. I remember blinking at the screen a few times, wondering if I tapped the wrong menu. But no, the pin was right there, blue, unmoving. A strange little knot formed somewhere under my ribs. Not pain, not panic, just a question mark that didn't have a place to sit. After a few minutes of circling our apartment, I decided to take a walk. I told myself it wasn't to check on her car. It was just to clear my head. A coincidence. A silly GPS glitch. Devices mess up all the time. My walk naturally curved right toward the business district. And sure enough, when I got close enough to see the parking row the app pointed me to, I recognized the car immediately. Not hers. Same model, same color, same tinted back window. But the license plate belonged to our neighbor from across the courtyard. I'd seen him washing it a dozen times. That should have made me laugh, maybe even feel relieved. But instead, the knot inside me just loosened a bit, then settled somewhere lower, like it was adjusting itself for a long stay. I didn't ask her anything when she came home later that night. There was nothing to ask. The evidence seemed clear. The GPS app had mistaken someone else's car for hers. It happens. It happened again a couple of days later. Same place, same neighbor's car, and I brushed it off for a while. The first real doubt weeks passed, and the GPS never did anything weird again. The app even updated itself in the meantime, which I took as a sign that the glitch had been resolved. Life returned to its quiet, predictable rhythm. Work, dinners, occasional movie nights. Nothing out of the ordinary. But then came the second Thursday. Not the same week. No, that would have been too obvious. A different month, a different season even, but also a Thursday. And sometimes the universe has a sense of humor so dry, it could start a fire. She said she had to stay late for a project review and asked me not to wait up. I didn't. I started a movie, cooked myself a late dinner, browsed through news articles I didn't care about. And then, almost absent-mindedly, I opened the GPS app. Her car was on the move, normal. Heading south, less normal. Her office was east. Our home was north. South led to residential areas neither of us had any reason to visit. I put on shoes without turning off the lights. I wasn't angry. I wasn't scared. I wasn't preparing to catch anything or anyone. The only thing I felt was a certainty slowly settling in, like dust on a shelf no one's cleaned in years. I think deep down I had known something was wrong long before the first incorrect GPS ping. People don't change suddenly. Marriages don't break in a day. Cracks form quietly, invisibly, underneath the surface, and eventually everything that's hidden finds its way to the light. Following her trail, I didn't drive. Driving would have made me feel like I was on some kind of mission. I walked to the end of our street, then took a taxi from a block over. I didn't want my car to be anywhere near hers. I didn't want to risk her seeing me. I didn't want to turn this into a confrontation. I just wanted to understand. When we entered the Southern District, I told the driver to drop me off near a little park with a fountain. I'd been there once years ago with coworkers. It was quiet, with narrow roads and rows of modern apartment complexes. Expensive ones. Clean, minimalistic, sterile, in a way that makes you feel like you should whisper. The GPS showed her car parked near one of those buildings. Not a business center, not the neighbor's car. Her car. This time, the knot inside me didn't move. It just went still. I walked slowly, giving myself time to prepare for whatever I was going to see. I told myself it might be anything. Maybe she was meeting a friend. Maybe she'd been invited to someone's birthday. Maybe it was work-related. But even as I ran through all those possibilities, another part of me, the quiet, honest, tired Pa, kept repeating a single sentence. If this is the truth, then it was always going to happen. When I finally turned the corner, I saw her car immediately, parked neatly, habitually, like she lived there. The lights inside the lobby of the complex were bright, and through the glass doors I saw her silhouette step into the elevator. Not rushing, not nervous, like she belonged. I stayed across the street, partially hidden behind a line of trees. I didn't need to get any closer. A few minutes passed, 5, maybe 6. Then somewhere around the 8th floor, a balcony light flicked on, and a man stepped out. He looked down at the street, not searching for anything, just checking if she had arrived. And then he smiled. A small, familiar smile. The kind you give someone you're happy to see. The kind you don't fake. A moment later, the balcony door slid open, and she stepped outside. My wife, in her coat. Hair slightly messy from the wind. She didn't touch him. He didn't reach for her. But they didn't need to. You can tell when two people aren't strangers. You can tell when a line has been crossed, even if no one moves. They talk for a bit, their voices too faint to reach the street. She tucked her hand behind her ear in that nervous laugh gesture she always had in college. He leaned against the railing, easy, relaxed, like he'd been waiting for her all evening. I realized then that this wasn't some long-term affair. This wasn't something that had been going on for months behind my back. This was new, the start of something, the first real step, the first betrayal. And I was watching it happen in real time. A strange calm washed over me. Not anger, not heartbreak. Something quieter, heavier. Like accepting bad weather on a day you were hoping to spend outside. You don't scream at the clouds. You just understand that the day is over. I watched them for another moment. Long enough to know I'd seen everything I needed to. Long enough to know that if I stepped forward, barged into the building, yelled, demanded explanations, it would change nothing. She had already made her choice. If not tonight, then another night. If not this man, then someone else. People don't suddenly break marriage vows because of a single cause. It happens slowly, then all at once. And stopping her tonight would only delay the inevitable. I left before the balcony light turned off. I didn't want to see them step back into the apartment together. I didn't want to create more scenes in my memory than the ones already burned there. I walked all the way home, 4 miles, letting the cool evening air settle my thoughts into something almost peaceful. The city felt different that night. Softer somehow. Or maybe I'd finally stopped pretending everything was fine. When I reached our street, her car wasn't there yet. She'd be home later, with a story prepared. Something casual, something polished. Something meant to keep the surface smooth. She would never mention the man, the balcony, the smile. But I wouldn't ask. Instead, I unlocked her car, quietly removed the AirTag I had slipped behind the lining weeks ago, and dropped it into my drawer at home. The GPS app was closed, the tracking history deleted. I sat in the living room for a long time, listening to the refrigerator hum, feeling the weight of what I now knew settle into place. No anger, no shouting, just an ending arriving with the softness of a whisper. Some marriages crash loudly, ours ended in silence. When she finally walked through the door that night, she greeted me the same way she always did. Calm, pleasant, maybe even a little too practiced. And for the first time in years, I realized that I wasn't afraid of losing her. She was already gone. Dear subscribers, if you have a story you believe is worth sharing, feel free to send it to us by email, storytimelounge320@gmail.com. We'll be happy to take a look, and it just might become the story featured in our next video.